Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon. Obviously, we have a worldwide community here. So, wherever you are, wherever you might be, glad you're here. Thanks for joining. Getting ready here for our live stream during the New York session. It seems to be very, very active. I have up here a chart of the S&P 500 that I have been tracking, and now no longer will be. The reason so I've been actually, before we get into the charts right here, I've made some of my best trades ever on the S&P over the last few days. Um, getting long somewhere, whatever, right around 22, selling out over here, shorting, taking profit, and then I just got stopped out here into profit, and now I'm done with it. Um, I'm surprised. The reason I have this up is I'm surprised by all of this price action. Right over here, this big fat candle over here. This was release of the jobs numbers this morning, the unemployed claims, which whatever they were, I think it was like 3.2 million, an astronomical number. Whether that is temporary or not remains to be seen. If the markets are now all of a sudden looking forward looking after that jobs numbers was out, the unemployment numbers was out, and is now looking to the stimulus bill being passed. I don't know. Here we are. I'm going to focus purely on FX now. Good morning, Sunset, Gustavo, Blair, Gabriel, everyone. Great to see you all. Hope you're all doing well. Hope everyone is safe. Let's see. Bitcoin trading down this morning, first of all, and coming into this important area. I have it marked around 6,470. This area over here of support as we're coming down into it now. Why is that important? Well, it looks to me as if we lose that area that I'm on a 30-minute chart, which I really don't like hanging out on. Yep. If we lose this area of support, I would have to think that that things could get ugly. And when I say ugly, I don't know what that means right now. I'm not even going to look at it. I would think, well, it's right there. We could be looking around 5,600 more or less. Let me draw that in only because I will be a buyer down there if that's what happens. Pressure's on Bitcoin this morning. Gold is up 1% today, having a nice day after. Yesterday is a down day, you could see, but that was after that explosive 3-day action off the lows over here. And gold looks like it could be resuming on upwards here. It looks like it could be taking in another poke, at least towards 1680 or 1700. I would imagine, especially if the stimulus bill is passed, equities are really pounding. The dollar is the story that I want to get into today. I think that we're at a point in the market where there's a lot of possibilities. We've seen a lot of retracements or it's beginning of new trends. That's what I want to take a poke at and find out what is going on. So let's start looking at the dollar, the DXY. Alberto, Mima, Dinkar, John, Jesse. That's right, Sunset. That's right. Uh, sometimes I want things to be easy, which they never are. Things are never so easy. Let's go back to Bitcoin really quick. Now, I don't really mean to talk my book because that's not important. I have some pretty good entries from the dip down here. I'm holding at well, my lowest one is 4,680, 5,147, and then I added at 6,000, 5,021, 6,149, and then 6,520. I was hoping that those would all stick without being tested. Obviously, might not be the case. Nevertheless, and I do agree wholeheartedly with you, Sunset, that it is an opportunity. And so I have this yellow line down here, 5,600. and my highest position I added to was over here at 6,500. I will add again if we get down to 5,600 and below, but I'm not going to be adding on the way up just yet. I want to see us get back into this level over here, this trend line over here, getting back above there, and then I feel pretty good. And then perhaps on a test, start back adding in, because what I'm looking for eventually happening, and when I say eventually, I don't really know how far. Hopefully sooner than later is a break of this trend line. And on a break of this trend line over here, this is the trend line that goes back all the way to the high of, well, the highest print on Bitcoin, right? And then we touched up here. The break of that trend line for me will signal the actual confirmation of the next bull phase. I will also add positions here on a break of this trend line up here, feeling good and safer about it. Mima brought up a wonderful idea this morning about adding some people to the live stream. I would really love it. I know Hanero has shared some charts with us, and if he wanted to, get on and explain, or anyone in here, anyone that's part of our community, if they were interested in, joining and or discussing and or presenting, we would love to do that. I would, and Mima, I hope you are able to maybe even take a little bit of lead on helping organizing that. That would be fantastic. But I'm 100%. Jim, good morning. Heath, Martine, 100% open to that. I think it would be fantastic. All right. Let's see what's going on here with the DXY, which is trading at 100 right now. All right. So this was days ago. Days ago, we were looking at hoping we come back and test this area over here, which we have this morning. And so far, it's holding, right? Way too early to know or see anything. You can see that this pullback is pretty steep. So the question that comes to my mind right away is, what's the initial reaction when the Senate or the House or the U.S. government passes the stimulus bill? Is that going to present further US dollar weakness? I don't know, to be honest. I don't know if this is an area to start leaning into buy right now. The best way to do it, the best way for any of us to do it, is wait for that confirmation. If this is support, and this is the support we have marked in, the easiest way to do it is wait for whatever time frame you're trading and wait to see price confirm by making higher highs. That's the safest and best way to do it. Is it possible we take out that level and trade back down lower? Of course it's possible. I'm looking for other areas of interest, because I have this important area marked down here, this blue line. That's kind of like, we get below there and then all of a sudden, wait a second. This could be not, this is no longer a pullback. This is now, that's a correction into that line. And beyond that, the whole dollar bull case gets a little bit more dicey. But I remain a dollar bull. I'm positioned as such, and maybe even a little bit too early. See what happens. I really want to get into the pairs this morning, especially starting with the US dollar, Japanese yen, which is now into a very important area of interest and a deep slope. Heath, you called this last night. You called this when price was, I would say, about 100 pips, 120 pips higher. Said it looks like US dollar, Japanese yen was on the move. And now we're back into the strong area of the 109.71, which is that blue line over here. Which on the way down was the important line in the sand, and the trend line. You can see this yellow trend line, that 5-year trend line. We're right now holding it. I have this red line over here. Now this is support. I have that red line over there, and it's so dicey because you could see where my mouse is right now at 108.33. You could see this is the resistance, and over there it's support. So I have it up here at 108.86, but 50 pips down also. I mean, this whole area, it's hard to know where you break down, and you have to consider that the yen is now in the lead. It's never easy, and this is really murky right now. Wow, it's not easy. It's hard to get a good read on that 100%. But I do want to add another line back where I was just talking over here. Right. And then you also have the ones down here even lower. So you could tell by my voice, not easy at all. And you know what? The places where you make the most money is the hardest places it is to lean in, which is right here, right now. You got a lower high over there. You got a lower high, which is not good for the bull case. Now, what's good for the bull case, though, is, dollar milkshake theory explains it. So nothing to act on per se. If anyone is leaning here buying today, I understand it. I'm not adding at this point, though. All right, let's watch for big turns in the market today. Equity's now up 2%, and they're really loving those unemployment numbers. Let's start with let's go in order here. Let's check out the euro US dollar next. And this is up into an important, well, hold on. We took out this level right here. And now we're into that blue line that we're hoping to get into. This is just the poorest trading on my part. Because, first of all, this is poor trading on my part. I'm holding my shorts down here. I hedged it with longs at the most perfect spot. And my original goal was to take a small piece off here and then exit right here this morning. And then price started coming down a couple of days ago, where I spoke about it yesterday in the live stream, and I exited the hedge, right? So I love talking about my mistakes, which I make often, because I want to be perfect. And the only way to get better is really focusing on your weaknesses and where you're making your mistakes. I'm not so much concerned about the good things I do. That's fine. I'm really concerned about bettering myself. And it's that growth mindset that it's the most important thing for all of us as traders. Each and every day is a new day. And we have to look to improve and find out where we need to work on. What happens here now, this looks like a place to actually, again, I would have been exiting my hedges over here. This looks like a place that I want to lean against to sell. I am actually going to look now for a reversal to add to shorts over here. Get back above here. I got the stronger line up there, which is my last line in the defense. If we get above there, then I think that obviously all bets are off. But right now, we're in a downtrend. We're coming into that resistance. I think this is a very good place to look into here, to lean into, looking to sell. And I'm all over it. If this trade winds up triggering and then failing, I got this big, thick red line here to remind me that's definitely an area I want to lean into too. I like both of these though. Maybe even preemptively. So, again, Thomas, buenos dias. Meanwhile, good. You've read my mind. We're on the same. Roman, good morning. We're on the same wavelength here. Yeah. So, if anyone is interested in actually contributing, if anyone is actually interested in getting in line, it's a lot easier to have a discussion when people are able to do that together over voice. If anyone wants to do that, please reach out to Mima. I don't know if you feel comfortable. Or the best way to do that. We'll figure that all out. You can contact me. I don't know whether it would be providing your Telegram contact or whatever the case may be. We could delete it after the live session. Whatever it is, I could use some help on organizing that though. DJ, good morning. Jim, Swado. Again, it's always hardest. It's always the most difficult at those pressure points to take those trades. And this is the one right here. This is the pullback. What triggered in my mind was this is where I wanted to exit my hedge. Here we are now. This is where I want to look to initiate further shorts. And then again, I have this line up here, the red one also, if this trade does fail. I am worried. I do believe, I am concerned that the possibility exists that upon a the passage of the stimulus bill, that the U.S. dollar could even weaken further. I do believe that, but it could also be a obviously sell the news type event. That's the markets. That's why, as long as you are taking your entries off of support and resistance, you are limiting your risk and actually at the same time opening up that potential to the upside the best possible way. So both U.S. dollar, the majors are in focus right now. Both the U.S. dollar, Japanese yen, and the euro US dollar are both at really important points, which means the US dollar, the DXY, is also at an important point. And you could see it right here, this closest area of support we've had. Watch out for both of them. Let's see what happens today. Let's keep going with the majors. Let's look at the pound US dollar. Also at a very important area here. I'm looking at the 4-hour, and let me first start on the daily, and then I'll come back down. And you can see here, this is a pretty important area of resistance that we're trading into. Clear downtrend into resistance. Is it time to sell? It looks like it possibly could be. If it is rejected here, it is a nice opportunity to sell. At the same time, if she's able to go ahead and break this resistance to the upside, then there's much further room here for the pound to make some gains back versus the dollar. So also the pound US dollar at a very important inflection point, really interesting. And that's where, if you remember, it was, what's today, Thursday? It was on Monday we were talking about, this looks like a period in the market where we could see some consolidation and retraces. This is the day in the market today, Thursday, where that's all coming to a completion. We're at a point where these are no longer retracements. If we break these areas of resistance here and or support on US dollar, Japanese yen, there could be some further extension of those moves. But this is the place to look for trades. Now is the time to look for trades. Wilford, good morning. Good to see you. So we got green lights all over the place already. Let's keep going. Let's look at the Australian dollar, US dollar. I'm with you all. I'm with you. Let's look at the Australian dollar, US dollar, and then I want to look at the US dollar, Canadian dollar. I want to stick with all of the majors here first this morning. Australian dollar, US dollar also up at a really important level. How do you like this? I like it. Australian dollar up one big gainer today, up 1.1%, and now also again into this area of resistance. So this is really neat. Across the board, we have US dollar setups. How do you trade them? Which one do you take? Do you take them, wait for that confirmation, and or do you spread it out, right? If you were trading one lot, right, and then all of a sudden you see all of the majors set up and you want to trade them as a basket, instead and there's 5 that you're taking, all of a sudden you go down to an entry on 0.2 for each. Just using easy basic math there to express the point to all of you. All right, well, for today's the day though, where the market is entering some really nice areas for setups. This is where the patience has paid off. This is where, that set of waves is coming in. You've been waiting all week, going on 4 days now for that wave, that set of waves to come in. And now the set of waves is coming in. And in this instant, normally it's like, which one is the best one that I want to wait and take? In this one, they all look kind of attractive. You got to spread it out a little bit, maybe. All right. So these are, so far we have fire today. We have setups across the board. US dollar, Canadian dollar, 4 hour. Let me start on the daily. This one's harder because it's so far extended to the upside. Let me even go back here and look at a weekly chart, because I'm looking to see if we have any area to lean against. And so I'm looking at the peaks over here. You can see we have these little bit area of resistance, and I'm trying to see where price leveled out at, you see the bottom here of this candle. Hold on. The bottom of this candle is where price kind of leveled out. But for me personally, so far out of the waves we've looked at on US dollar, Japanese yen, euro US dollar, pound US dollar, and Australian dollar US dollar, all those look like really, well-formed waves. This one doesn't. And also notice that we didn't take out the top over here. We didn't make a higher high. We were rejected at that top. So personally, this is one that I want to let go, because it's more, well, it's not well defined. It's a little bit more choppy, call it. It's not choppy. It's just not nice. So maybe towards this bigger green line, or maybe even down a little further. Sorry about that. That's really far away, but that's like a really strong area that I would like to lead in if we came down there. Not that I think we will come all the way down there or anything like that. And this would be a highly aggressive area to lean into. I just don't like this one. This is the first one we've looked at today that I could say, well, it's just not well defined. It's just sloppy. I don't want to be involved in it. This is the New Zealand dollar, US dollar now, and so this mirrors the Australian dollar pretty well. It's in a similar situation, except I can't really find an area of resistance to lean against to. I think we saw further downside on the New Zealand dollar, US dollar than we did on the Australian dollar, US dollar. I wish I would have held the shorts from over in that area for that 1,000 pips, because that would have made the year and more. But again, so I see a lot of good setups today that are a little bit easier to lean off of. And for me, it's just not as clear on the New Zealand dollar, US dollar. So with so many good setups in the market, I'm just going to stand aside there. Next, I want to start looking at yen pairs and Swiss franc pairs. So let's start with the US dollar, Swiss franc, actually, before we move on anywhere else. And we've lost some pretty important levels into this area. This looks like an area of supply to me, though, that price is trading down into right now. And this is probably also equities are up pretty high right now. Obviously, all eyes are, I believe, on the stimulus bill right now, and that's what the markets are keying off of. But at the same time, US dollar, Swiss franc, it looks inviting. It does look inviting. clean this up a little bit. It looks inviting. There's got to be a time and a place where the dollar is obviously at an important area where all these entries could actually work out, or we could break down further. And as we've known and seen over the last weeks, that remember this move was so strong this move to the upside was so strong, and then we got so strong to the downside. This was unbelievable, and then this move to the upside was just violent, right? So what happens next? We'll see, right? Could we see another violent move to the downside? Of course, we're seeing that type of volatility in the market. Or as we're all well aware of, a normal market pattern after a move like this is market works out and starts consolidating over in that area. Let me check in with you guys. Ready, NR? Mata? Good morning. Good morning to all of you. Yeah, we're gonna get Swato. We're gonna get into the Japanese yen pairs next. I just wanted to first check on the US dollar Swiss franc. Let's start with the pound Japanese yen. This is also in a very interesting area. You can see this trend line over here. Price right now is being rejected by it. You can see also where price is. You see that dotted white line right over there. You can see that was the last where price peaked down to. That was an area of interest again over here. A little bit in this area. It's in an area of resistance right now. So that remains interesting. I would have to add this as far as all the pairs we've looked at this morning, right up there. I'm looking where it was rejected a little bit higher to see if that's a little bit area further of resistance. I'm seeing the resistance up here and the touch over there, and then going over there. So that line should be drawn in. So this is interesting. Let's check out the Australian dollar, Japanese yen. Also at an interesting level now. Again, I was waiting for that retrace. The coronavirus situation is even more difficult now. Everything's a puzzle. So many moving pieces. I'm not going to get into it at all right now because I can't even wrap my head around when this possibly could start seeing any type of when we could start seeing this pass over. So what happens if those $3.2 million unemployment claims were mostly from industries such as service industries, such as restaurants, which we know that a lot of restaurant employees were obviously laid off. What happens if it's from the airlines? And I think it's going to be a couple of months. It would be a couple of months further out before we started seeing layoffs from other companies. What I'm getting at is if all of a sudden people did return to work in the next few weeks, those jobs would come right back into the market at this point. And is that going to happen? Obviously, is this the peak that we're seeing right now? I'm not trying to call that even a little bit. I would actually prefer to see other people's opinions on that. Things are obviously escalating right now. Italy's about to surpass the total cases of China and the US. Probably both of them will within the next days. So What I'm getting at, and the reason I'm talking about that though, is because are we going to see another bout of risk on, or is this coming to an end? I don't have the answer to those questions, and I I don't know. But I don't feel like leaning in here to the Australian dollar, Japanese yen. Pound Japanese yen looks a little bit more attractive to me. Let's keep looking. I don't even know what I'm rambling about with you all right now. Let's check out the Canadian dollar, Japanese yen. However, this looks like it is being rejected, and rejected pretty well right now. So that looks a little bit more interesting, maybe. This looks good. I mean, so it's a little difficult right now because you have the US dollar pairs all set up. Not all, when I say all the ones that we've looked at, there's a lot of interesting setups and trades going on right now. And also with the Japanese yen, right? So really interesting day. This is a day to be active. And, as it's becoming a little more complicated, seeing so many setups as far as, which ones to take. We have the moving target of how the stimulus bill being passed, if it's passed today. I know that Nancy has to give 24 hours before they vote on it in the House as well. So I believe Jesse is the person I know most up to date with the timeline of everything that's going on. I haven't even looked at the news yet. I've been focused on other stuff since I woke up this morning, focusing on the charts alone. And again, down here, everyone wanted to be involved. We were waiting. And now we're at the point where, do we act? These are the questions I'm asking myself. I'm a little more focused towards the US dollar pairs, but here's the Japanese yen, and they look good. So I'm going to have to revisit, to be honest. I want to check out the New Zealand dollar, Japanese yen, though, which is a little bit of my favorite right now when it comes to the yen pairs. All right. All of these look interesting as we've now retraced up, entering the resistance, sell resistance and downtrends. So not only do we have the US dollar pairs at an area of interest, all Japanese yen pairs are at interest as well. There's a lot going on. Today's the day. Relash, looking for someone to type down the different currencies. I mean, so a couple of different options, and this is the most important. You could go. This is awesome about YouTube. So we're about 33 minutes in now. You could actually go back and watch those 30 minutes in your own pace at your own time, and get those. And that I do recommend today, because we're actually in a session now where we're looking at setups, and there's a lot of setups to review, that are a lot of active setups. So if you want to go ahead and do that, you could do that. Also, today is a day for me, because now we have setups in the market, that I could go ahead and look at these on TradingView and send them out. If you go in the description below, there's a link that says TradingView, right? So and there's one that says free Telegram. Go ahead and follow me on both of those, because today I will be I will be polishing up those trade setups and sending them out there. DJ, no, I don't think for a second, there's no way that those stats out of China are legitimate. And that's not a conspiracy theory. There's no way they're legitimate. Jesse, I'm not sure about that. You've been showing really good patience about waiting for some from setups to arrive. And the thing about taking setups is, let's say, for example, let's say you took this setup, that's a daily. Let me go to 8 hour, looking at this pair. This is, all right. Right now is when you're watching this pair, New Zealand dollar, Japanese yen. You see it into this area of resistance right now. You can see so far it's been rejected, But since it's been rejected, it's now on that very tick making a higher high. So you're waiting to short this. How do you short this? You wait for price to make a lower low. And I do think people should be on the 8-hour, not the 4-hour right now. The markets are not moving like they were a little while ago. So you wait for price to make a lower low. Let's say you get in back here. Let's say you got in at 64.50. All right. And then your resistance is up 200 pips from here. Let's say you're risking 1%. So you have to do the math. All right. And now you're looking, obviously, for a first take profit somewhere towards the lows over here. If you're taking the trade as it happens, because you're in a downtrend, you come into resistance, you get the signal. As we spoke about that yesterday, looking at a certain chart pattern, so long as you do that all day long, you will wind up making money in the long run. Now, if you don't take the trades as they come in, then you're missing out, and then you're kind of leaving it to yourself to be a little bit too discretionary. You know you're wrong, right? So you get out of the trade when you're wrong. But as the market falls into place for what you've been waiting for, you got to be in it to win it. Nice, Thomas. I'll check that in 1 second. Dimmer, this is a comment I'm looking forward to reading. You said I'm from Europe. I know what people are doing to control the situation. I think the US will be impossible, so the situation will get worse. So I think that will bring the US dollar down. Friday, they're looking for the House vote. Okay. If both of you are saying that next week looks a little bit more like a place that both of you are interested. Both of you have been showing some pretty good patience. So I respect that a lot. All right, let's keep taking a look around. Do we have any other New Zealand Japanese yen pairs that we want to take a look at? I'm not interested, but I'll take a look at the Euro Japanese yen as well, since we're here. And I'm not interested because it's very fuzzy for me. Nevertheless, it is actually at a very attractive level over here, up here, as we get, towards that 121.37 big line resistance, which we're trading about, I guess, 100, 90 pips below it. But we're in an area over here that's attractive to get short over here for me. So I digress. This is also at an attractive level. Actually, I like it. I'm not a fan of the euro overall, and this looks like a potential power play area over here. You're way off the lows too, about 400 pips to the downside. So is it possible we revisit those lows? Well, I think so. And as far as limiting the risk, you got your big resistance. You dead wrong if you trade above there, right over there. So that trade also looks attractive to me. Very attractive. Interesting that there is a lot going on in the market. So now I want to get into the Swiss franc, because I do believe there could be a lot of opportunity waiting here as well. Gold up now 1.4%. It is leading silver today. Listen, we've talked about for a long time. Anytime gold that's ever come up during our live stream, I've always talked about the importance of owning gold as a percentage of your portfolio and owning that gold in physical. I was looking at physical golds yesterday or the day before. The prices are ridiculously high. They're about $300 over market, over paper price. No, it's not. That's not true. Gold's trading at 1637. They're about $150 over the price of paper. Around more or less between what I've saw, it was 1750, and I saw as high as 1850 on Mike Maloney's gold silver site. So gold, people are having a problem getting a hold of physical gold and silver right now. There is a wait if you want to own either on most available dealer sites. If there comes a point in time during all this where, you know, things kind of de-escalate, I think, you know, if you don't yet own that physical gold and silver, you know, I don't care if you owned $100 to your name, at least, you know, 10% of your wealth should be in physical gold and silver, right? It's much easier to buy $10 worth of Bitcoin than $10 worth of gold. And trying to keep the math easy for you. And even if you only had $100 to your name, then you should own one silver coin. All right, let's keep going. Australian dollar, Swiss franc. This is marked as support, but it's resistance. And is that an interesting area to lean into? This big thick one is definitely more interesting or more favorable, but right now we are in an area. You can see I have this little, let me zoom in here so we get a better look at it. This touchdown here I have, and then that was acting as resistance on the way up. Again, it was acting as resistance. We broke above, but it didn't hold, and now we're back there. So this is an area, if it holds and we're rejected, is an area of interest, I also believe, for looking to short here at the Australian dollar, Swiss franc. So I do get Jesse and Thomas's view of waiting for the resolution of the stimulus bill. Equity's loving it, up 3% now. Wow. Amazing, amazing, amazing how traders this morning flipped on a switch as soon as the print of the jobless report came, unemployment claims came out. 3.2 million at the high end of the claims. And what did they do? This is why people should not trade the news at all, because that's a bad data point. People might have thought that, oh, I should short the markets. But traders just use that as the time to flip and be forward looking to the stimulus bill. Impressive trading by all of them. New Zealand dollar, Swiss franc, I assume, is also at a very similar level as, and it is, actually looks even a little bit solid. Looks really solid. You have about 80 pips before you know where you're wrong, right? The risk to reward here is really amazing. You know where you're wrong on the upside. You could get out, wait, reevaluate. On the downside, however, you're looking at massive, well, probably you would have your first take profit, you know, around this level over here, which is still a really favorable 200 pip risk to reward. So it's about 2.5 risk to reward just to the first area of take profit. And if things start getting murky and fall apart and we take out those lows, you got a home run for the year on your hand. So that trade looks really good. I do want to check out the Canadian dollar, Swiss franc, and the pound Swiss franc as well. Here we are, pound Swiss franc, also leaning into that area. Markets are set up across the board. So this is the area where your risk to rewards really work out in your favor. Swing traders, you know, I know myself that I was waiting. I'm waiting for this day and have been waiting for it, showing good patience. I get people wanting to fall back and wait for further clarity. I'm ready to act though. And the Canadian dollar, Swiss franc. I don't like it. I just don't like Canadian dollar pairs at this point, after seeing the amount of after that huge move we saw in the Canadian dollar. I just don't like them. All right. Gold. Let's take a look at gold now that it's on the move over here. It is into an area over here of resistance. You can see it over here. My gut is that it breaks out to the upside, right? So I'm more looking for a test specifically of 1680 first, about $50 higher. and then let's see what it could do. Let's see if it could make some new highs over here, yearly highs, yearly, and I guess without knowing, probably a 5-year high, could be even more. Not really important, but gold looking good here, looking solid and bid. Bitcoin is lagging. The one thing you can say about Bitcoin, though, is over the last week, it's broken that peg it has had to the S&P or the equities. And I think everything during that sell-off, this sell-off right here, I think almost everything was tightly correlated. Everything in the markets were tightly correlated in that crisis situation. And when I say crisis situation, it caused the Fed to cut rates near to zero and institute what was it, $4 trillion of I can't even count anymore, a massive amount of QE. Yep. Oh, so Alberto, this is awesome. I'm just gonna focus in here, buddy, on your comment because it's really important. And so, self-awareness is your greatest asset for everyone and in every aspect of life. It's the gift of self-awareness is really important, right? Especially in the spiritual life. Now here you're realizing that this past week I've had this desire to trade, and it's been really difficult for me, even though I knew things weren't clear, to wait for things to develop. It's that's the truth. It's been hard for me. Maybe I've taken some trades I shouldn't have taken, and now today I see the markets are actually set up, and they do look good. And because of these last few days, maybe it's a little more difficult for me to act. Okay, great to just be aware of that. That's something to journal about. If you spend a few minutes, a paragraph or two, actually writing that down, maybe even with a pen. I mean, I prefer typing myself, but if you maybe you do that in a space that you normally don't write in, even if it's online, like maybe pull up a Google Doc if you haven't used Google Docs in a long time, or whatever the case may be. But if journaling that and actually ingraining that experience into your mind was going to help you in the future. So that's really important. Market's moving fast. I think the market will continue to move fast over here. Listen, sometimes you got to jump in. Sometimes the water's cold. You don't want to get in the water, but you got to jump in. And then after you jump in, it's all right. This is a good place all around to be able to really, really calculate your risk and get into some favorable positions with a good risk to reward. It's never easy. And probably, I mean, Jesse and Thomas, they're right. What the move that they're choosing to take is fantastic. That's mature mindset, mature trading. I support it. So here we are. That's our look at the markets, and that's what today was at 49 minutes, 50 minutes, but it gave us a really good look at what's going on. Jesse, Australian dollar, Swiss franc. I could pull it up over here. I had a signal over here as the 111, something I'm experimenting with, crossed down below the zero line, and then got me out just a couple of bars later. So false attempt, back up to the upside now, comes down again. I'm getting in again. But the Australian dollar, Swiss franc looks good to me in that it's coming up into an area of resistance. I got the big thick line like you saw my Euro US dollar, and then the other line here. There's any way you look at it, we're at a resistance point. In downtrends, I do sell resistances. The hard piece for me is what happens next with the coronavirus. Uh, a lot of people are sick. Things are getting really bad in New York. Things are getting really, really, really bad in New York. I think we're at the point in New York where the hospitals will simply be overrun. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw in the next week images that we've seen in Italy and in China, where arenas have to start being used as a place to care for the sick, happens in New York. Those images will not bode well in the mindset of the psychology, the psyche of the American people. Um, I do believe that Mexico, which not yet is, I think they only have like 450 cases. I do believe that it's going to become one of the worst outbreaks in the world, as the United States has become, as Italy is. I do believe that. I believe that's going to be probably 2 or 3 weeks away. So, what else are we talking about, family? What do you guys want to discuss today? What's going on, Ofo? Been a little while. It's been any edge, Thomas, that you could find. Uh, so the best way to look at this is, first of all, as a career. And I think in any single career, and or whether you're talking about a professional athlete, um, those who succeed are the ones who work the hardest. Those who succeed, those who are at the best, whether you're talking about Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant, these guys worked the hardest out of everyone. Um, and don't forget, Michael Jordan didn't even make his high school varsity team. He wasn't good enough, right? It's not natural talent so much it is discipline, work ethic, edge over edge. We've talking a lot about layering edge on top of edge, and journaling, tracking trades, looking at your mistakes. These are all huge edges that add, an additional layer onto your side. Tiger Woods, man. Tiger Woods is an interesting one to bring up because, man, can you imagine? All right, let's talk about Tiger Woods for 1 second. Here's someone who is at the top of the game, on pace and course to become the greatest golfer in the history of the sport. And what did he do at the top of his very top peak of his game? He changed his swing. Golfers never change their swing, but he wanted so much to be the best that he was willing to change his swing if it meant him even being better. Look at that. Look what it takes to be a champion. That's absolutely astonishing. Wow. I do want to take a look at the S&P now. Oh, making higher highs than yesterday. Interesting. 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 Wow. I think it's up about probably 5.5% or more off the low here as well. Wow. Yeehaw. Yeah. So, well, it worked out, but until it didn't. Not that I so this was largely traded off of what was going on in the stimulus, right? I took two trades. There was a trade I took before where I got 125. The first trade I took in what was it, 10 months on the S&P, I made 125 points, by far the largest trade I ever made on the S&P on a single trade. I don't remember that trade. That was to the short side, I believe. I took a long here at 21. I think it was 21.92 and one at 22.20. I sold them yesterday, last night, Jesse, all the way up here. Let me show you what I had drawn in there. I sold them. We came up here and we started. This was the breakout of this blue box to the upside, and then we started trading down. I think I exited the trade somewhere around 25. So that was insane for me. Insane. I don't know how many points it is. Over 300. Insane. And then actually right here with this yellow line I had here, this was right here. I shorted it. This was towards the close of New York. I shorted this trade. And then it was Bernie Sanders came out on the wire saying he was going to hold up the bill. We got this big fat candle. And I took profit here on my lesser, one of two trades on the lesser one. And then I woke up, we were at over here, and the jobs unemployment numbers are coming out. And I thought that I was going to go ahead and probably had a good chance of this just breaking down. I moved my stop right to the top of this blue box. So there were about 20, 25 points locked in, 1%, which is normally huge, but in this environment, not a lot. And then it was stopped out right there. So it was beyond phenomenal trading, but whatever. That was, well, actually, I guess so we're in a different situation. We're in a crisis situation. The House is voting on a stimulus bill. I don't like to trade outside of my wheelhouse at all. I don't like to do that. These are extenuating circumstances. And that's why this morning I said, okay, back to FX, focus 100% on the currency pairs right now. And, just to get me to get back in. But like an animal, for sure, I came in there and did what needed to be done. Right? That could have been if I thought I had this potential and holding the short coming into these numbers last night. I really honestly thought that this could really break down, and then to have two home runs back to back would have been something else, right? Here we are though right now, but the U.S. equities are up really healthy. Look at this movement, and now breaking out to highs over here. So if I do want to look at where I think they could be going, because when I got long here all the way down here, I was really looking for the possibility of trading into right here into 2,800, right, and up to 2,920. And I still do believe both those things could happen. We'll see. Dollar back with a little bit of pressure right now. Coming back in, testing this important area over here. Again, we've seen such strong moves, impulses. First to the upside, then bigger to the downside, then yet even bigger to the upside. Why I don't think it's possible we saw an even bigger one to the downside now. Be aware, it is possible. The reason that's possible, of course, is look at the actions that the Fed is taken against working against the dollar right here. I'm not calling for that. I don't think it's going to happen. But listen, if that did happen, if we saw a big move, bigger move, bigger move, bigger move, anything could happen these days. Right, right. Hip hip hooray. I mean, the S&P is teeing off right now. This would be a perfect time if Hanero had been here to come in here and look at some stuff with everyone. I don't know. That's definitely our strong look at the markets, and it only took an hour this morning. It's up to all you whether there's something that you guys want to open up to discuss, or take a look at. Tiger Woods is the Tiger Woods. I didn't know that. I didn't know that about Tiger Woods avoiding taxes. I heard about Lionel Messi doing that. Yeah, so that and Jesse, that's a really good question. And what I could add to that, though, as it turns out, right, like people who hold trades and don't limit their risk, like that works against them in the adverse way, right? It's human nature to go ahead and when you take those gains, right? It's almost as if really think about this, really be really transparent with yourself. Do you have an easier time taking gains or losses? Are you more apt to take a gain or a loss? If you see yourself in profit in 10, 20 pips, are you taking that? Right? Or if you're down 10, 20 pips, you're like, wait, let me give it another extra 10, 20 pips. Let's see what happens. Oh, wait, let me give it another 10 pips. Right? What happens if you reverse that and do that to the upside? What happens if you're more willing not to take profits, but give the trade the potential, the possibility of actually really falling into profit? It can't happen unless you do that. You'll never have a big trade unless you give it the room. It seems like Thomas and Jesse are like on the same wavelength. Both of you guys. All right, I know that I need to wait until next week for more clarity, and you're both correct. And then you're both like U.S. dollar, Japanese yen. So far, that's a. If you were trading the 1 hour, there's your entry right around here, right? This is an excellent place to limit your risk. Yeah, Wilfred, I think that is one of the best, best, best ways to trade. Because the thing is, if you're standing in front of the computer and if you're watching the tape, you're more apt to act. If you go ahead and you do your homework from the beginning, you know where your levels are, and then you set it as such and forget about it, you can't interfere. All right, everyone. I think this is going to be a short session for us today because we covered everything that's important, everything that we needed to look at. Absolutely, Thomas. I mean, looking good over here. I don't know if, and I don't know what that means for the other Japanese yen pairs, whether or not they're respecting their resistance areas they're looking at to. They see their yen is just a little bit weak right now. It's giving you a chance to come further into these areas of interest that we're watching. All right, but the markets are set up, so there's a lot for me to be active about sharing later in the day or even right now, polishing up some of these setups and getting them out on Trading View. So it could be, but there's a play right now also on the 1 hour. It's pretty far, 70 pips. It's big ranges out there. The upside, though, makes up for it, right? You're risking 70 pips, but you're looking for a 2.5 to 1 ratio, risk to reward ratio, just to this area. If you break out, forget about it. All right, everyone. Have a beautiful day. Have a beautiful day. Be safe. Be prepared. Be smart. I'll talk to you all later.